It's time to step inside the Octagon with your host, Ike Feldman.
What is up, everybody? Ike fans, combat sports community, mixed martial art fans, boxing fans, kickboxing fans, underground grappling event fans. It is your boy, it is your brother in arms, Ike freaking Feldman. Yes, on my birth certificate, it says freaking as the middle name. I'm your boy. I'm being joined by my boy, Mr. Matthew Slater. Following him on Instagram at m.slater MMA. Yes, he's got MMA in his handle, but this dude knows a shit ton about collegiate wrestling. Yes, there's Olympic trials, not Law and Order trials, nothing to do with Amber Heard. He is funny. He is knowledgeable. He knows his shit. He knows a lot of boxing, and that's what we are going to discuss on this episode of the Octagon. He is Matthew with one T. We're about to talk about a Terrence with one R. But my boy, Matthew, what's up, brother?
How we doing, my friends? Great to be on the show, man. Glad to get that call, get the invite. Glad to be here.
This has been a long time in the making. You know, I've been I'm gonna start to if they have like costumes or figurines. I'm in my summer Ike. I'm a floozy when it comes to responses. We were supposed to do a preview. All of a sudden, the fight passes. I go, wait a second. There's some super funny genius that I have not discussed with it. It's Matt, and I'm sorry, my apologies, but I'm sure you would have predicted this, as we saw a couple of weeks ago. Terrence Crawford putting on a masterclass, a masterful performance over one Errol Spence. A long time in the making. People will say, haters will say, non-savants will say. I think this happened at the perfect time. What are your initial thoughts of the fight, my man?
So, going into the fight that evening, my big thought was wish it would have happened 2-3 years ago. And the reason for that was I looked at Terrence Crawford as on his way out. I thought he was getting a little bit older, and I thought that Spence, and again, I don't mean he's old for the division. I don't mean he's old for fighting. I mean that Earl Spence Jr. might have been a little too much for an old man to handle. That being said, when you see his warm-up videos, you see him getting ready for that fight, you could just tell that he was gonna put it in, you know, he was gonna get that work done.
So anybody who is saying that this fight should have happened 3 years ago, it's because of the Crawford side of things, right? It's
Yes.
not because so Spence is in the window, right? The prime, as they say. My biggest question to a fellow, one of my good friends and boxing experts, Francisco Guzman. I asked him a simple question because I'm a casual boxing fan. I'm learning about Alexander Usyk. I'm learning about all the boxing world.
Usyk will show you something. You keep watching that.
I thought he was just a guy with the cool mustache and crazy suits, but I'm learning much more about the sweet science. My only question about Crawford, I go, does this dude make it a lifestyle, meaning training? Is he in shape all year round? And he goes, yeah. And I go, okay, so then if he's not partying, drinking, and just doing 10 weeks to get in crash dieting shape, then I go, yeah, he should walk through Spence. And that was my only analysis, but there are much more layers. Give me some of those.
So one of the big things to take into consideration is just how big Earl Spence Jr. is compared to Terrence Crawford.
Really?
Like Earl Spence takes a cut to make that weight, and he's young and strong enough, athletic enough.
What weight is this?
Earl Spence Jr. I believe they're welterweights. I believe that was the welterweight title. It's like super welterweight. You know, there's like 12 divisions now. It's crazy. And again, I mean, you need that 2-3 pound catch weight back and forth. And if you really want to know more about that, look into how many champions have been stripped of titles for missing fight weight by a pound. It's crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So for me, that was like a very big consideration. Earl Spence is definitely the bigger man. And again, if you want to look at their reach, I would have to guess that Earl Spence has reach on Crawford. And again, I wouldn't even know for sure. I don't have the tapes up in front of me, but you know.
No, I've heard that. Spence is saying the bigger man. I'm like, but you saying it like hammers at home. I'm like, oh, really? He was really?
Oh, yeah.
I was like, geez.
Well, I don't know, just to switch gears to MMA for 1 second, I don't know if you saw the Whitaker, Duplessis fight.
The white gorilla.
Yeah, did you see how fucking big that guy looked?
Dude, he could walk on his hands.
Yeah. That like, and again, that's an extreme example of what a weight cut looks like, but Robert Whitaker's huge at that weight, you know that, right?
Yeah,
He's like a big man at that weight. Duplessis made him look like a child,
100%.
you know? And so I feel like, you get a little of that same element. I think the difference is really, and again, this is a big delineation between MMA and boxing and what it is to have form and technique. MMA's got a much more random element. You got those flying knees. You go to the ground, somebody arm bars you off a takedown. You never really know what's happening. You're just really surviving in there, which I love. In boxing, you're performing like a dance. It's very specific motion. You know what I mean? So that size differential makes a much bigger deal, in my opinion, in boxing. Um, which again, you can argue because Duplessis got on top of Whitaker and just mangled him.
So it's even more impressive than for what
Yeah.
Crawford did.
Well, what's so impressive about it is that Errol Spence Jr. was ranked at fourth in the world by most PvP rankings. Like it's not like it was some schlump from the division. It wasn't number 2 in the division, the big contender. It's number 4 in the world pound for pound that he beat, and he fucked him up. I don't know, guys. If you didn't see the fight, please go look at it. It's the most beautiful thing I think I've ever seen.
Unbelievable defense, confidence. I'm. This is my original take. I've been watching a lot of Bruce Lee stuff later. Recently, shout outs to the HBO Max's the Warrior Show, which is like a Bruce Lee idea come to life. But that 1 inch punch, that lead hand, power hand, that's exactly what I saw at Terrence Crawford, and it's well documented that he's one of the few successful switch stance boxers, power from both sides. He might throw a football with his right hand because the power in that jab, beautiful technique, beautiful power, no wasted motion. Like, dude, break it down for me.
So one of the great things that and you actually nailed it right there. His defense, his switch hitting, his ability to just short shot those exchanges. So that right there alone, that's the Canelo Alvarez Bivol fight. So what happens when the shorter guy is taking these shots, they want to eat them on the edge of the elbow and fire a straight shot right off the elbow, right? So you take it and immediately fire back, and it works almost like parrying does in boxing. Um, when you had Earl Spence firing these hooks from slightly outside positions at Terrence Crawford, which again, this is what I'm really getting to. Terrence Crawford's depth, his ability to gauge distance in that fight was remarkable. It really was. It's one of the greatest things I've ever seen in combat sports. And one of the ways that it was highlighted, he was convincing Spence that he was inside, getting Spence to throw these looping hooks, catching them on the elbow and firing that Bivol straight right down the line. It's like he combined 4 different styles of fighting into one motion, beat Spence's ass with it.
If there's any videos, I know this is on call on demand right now, but if you want me to highlight for the audience, I could throw up. Again, this is live on the YouTube page. This will be posted later on the podcast feed. But if you want to throw any videos, I'm talking to you, Matt, to DM me straight to Instagram. I'll throw them up while we're talking.
Yeah, give me 2 seconds. I can actually find a couple good examples of Terrence's outside work during that fight.
Okay. I'll fill in the meantime. Guys, again, we're being joined by Coach Matthew Slater, wrestling, boxing, jiu-jitsu, knowledgeable when it comes to breaking down to the sport. An awesome guy as much as well. Like I would love to highlight and for the audience to see how funny he is, just off the top of the mind, top of the dome. Matt's hysterical. Follow Matt on Instagram at m.slater MMA. He's boxed, wrestled, jujitsu. He's coaching. I love the way he presents, talking about fighting. I can only imagine what it means to be a fighter under Matt. He's training part of the next wave, and Matt is a fellow Strong Island, so you guys know already that I respect him. There was a question that I've heard raised by local fighter, or raised and answered by local fighter. I believe Suffolk's own Chris Wade. Whereas, why is Long Island such a hotbed for martial arts, uh, boxing, wrestling, MMA, successful champions, Chris Algieri, Chris Weidman, the list goes on, of course, Matt Serra, the Godfather. Uh, you got to love them all. But Chris Wade went on to say that the reason why Long Islanders are so successful when it comes to martial arts and combat sports is because in order to train at a high level, you also have to work hard to pay for the rent, to pay for the mortgage, to have a dating life, which Matt knows a lot,
Mhm.
to hang out with your friends, to be clean cut, to be groomed. The reason why I have low lighting is because I haven't gotten a haircut in a couple of weeks. There's a story behind that, but I agree with that, man. Like, unless you're the few and rare between where this is a story I heard where Chris Weidman, he lived in his father's basement with his wife and his kids while he
So
was
I knew Chris while he was living at his parents' house still.
okay. There you go.
He hadn't had his kid yet. I was wrestling at Nassau Community College with Chris Weidman while he was living at his parents' house.
Oh my God, I love you even more, Matt. You're the man. And it makes a lot of sense, like on the coast, you got these amazing golf courses and these $1 million houses, and just these people who they just swing of a finger, they can like raise a building in Manhattan. It's a crazy place to live, and yet this is one of the biggest hotbeds for martial arts, a sport that's kind of in the gutter. It takes a certain type of grit and a certain type of basically passion. You have to love this. Otherwise, you're wasting a lot of time and you're going to be a very unhappy person if you're trying to pursue a successful career in combat sports on Long Island. So the cream rises to the top, and it's just, Matt, I respect you. I believe you're part of that cream. So did you find that video yet? Did I fill it enough?
Yeah, I mean, MMA on Long Island definitely is creamy.
Like I
But I
said,
mean, hey,
are you on
I
the what do you call it? Are you on the block? Are you taken? Are you in a parking spot? Like what's your dating status? If you
oh,
hold
wow, shit, man, I'm all around the place. I date very casually. Very
all
casual. I
around the
like the single
place,
life.
ladies.
I mean, hey, you guys got the IG now. Hit me
Uh,
with the DM.
pulling up. Here we go. All right. Do
So,
you
yeah,
see the video
this
on
is
the
a great
screen?
example. So, what I want you guys to be paying attention to here, it's I want you to look at how Spence is reacting to Crawford's forward motion. He starts swinging a little wild. Crawford pulls out and then returns. We call it a pull counter.
I need
But
you to
the
be the
the
best
level
substitute teacher. Tell me when to hit the projector play, hit pause.
so actually, yeah, if you want to go ahead now, just a couple second clip, you can go ahead and throw it. But I do want you guys just to note, yeah, just look at this motion on the outside. He's keeping him pushing, he's keeping him guessing, forcing that action. And you can see Crawford moves forward, baiting Spence into motion, waiting for him to make a mistake. And it's just so masterful. It's very tactical, very intelligent.
But can you see my mouse on the screen?
No.
Do you see in the comment
There we go.
where there's a guy doing a backflip? Is that Crawford?
Yes, I do see the flip, but the stream's kind of glitching a little bit.
Oh, is that Crawford though that could do a backflip? They're showing in the comments. Some guy
Oh,
doing a back.
I don't know if that's Crawford doing a backflip. I think he's a little old for the backflips.
I didn't realize if that's him. I didn't realize he's that type of athlete. Like obviously he's a swordsman, like an Anderson Silva, just like a sniper when it comes. But I mean, you see Gaethje, Michael Chandler, Teofimo Lopez. These
Incredible
guys
athlete.
who could have played football if they're big. If Crawford's doing backflips, man, how is he not promoted correctly, man? This guy has it. He's exactly who you want to be like the face of your organization or promotion. Humble and just
The
undefeated.
The first time I saw this guy, he was 22-0. I think he had 17 knockouts on his belt. And I think I might be wrong. It might have just been a great night to be watching like the fights that were just on. But he was, I believe, he was on the same card as Deontay Wilder, 13-0. And I remember seeing both of them and just being like, "Oh wow, this is actually the future of boxing right here." And what I didn't realize was he was already a top like 10 contender.
Wow.
I just had no idea.
That says a
They
lot.
they
That says a
really
lot.
didn't do a good job hyping this guy up. The Omaha kid is a killer. He's a
The
killer.
craziest thing
Should
that I
have way
saw,
more hype for how good he is.
I think I became a lot more locked in with, I think December 2018 was the first Fury Wilder fight. That's when I've gotten more jumping into the boxing world. And since then, obviously, just tuning into the pound for pound rankings, I saw Canelo, Fury, Wilder, and then Usyk jumps in there over Wilder over the last 2 years, and I go,
Yep.
and I've been focusing on Crawford. I see the record 32-0, 33, on and on and on and on. And I'm just like, how are people missing this guy? He wanted to fight Spence 3. He's not running from anybody. I was like, the
Oh
disrespect.
no, never. Never. He never ran from anyone. He's been willing to take just about every fight that's ever been booked for him. I think a big problem is this idea that he didn't have what people viewed as the right level of competition to really put him in that category of pound for pound great, which I think is very short sighted by the people who were making those decisions. And in my opinion, I mean, there were a lot of great fighters at the time. Like again, you're talking about the Canelo Alvarez era where you had Triple G in that weight class. You had like actual studs all over this. You have Usyk, Anthony Rumble Johnson. You've got Tyson Fury. Klitschko was still in the running at that point. He hadn't retired. He might not even be retired. I just don't hear a lot about Klitschko anymore. So you just had all these huge names swirling around, and then you had the entire lightweight division, which was just stacked with monsters. I don't know if you happen to catch the Donier and Inoue fight, one fight of the year,
I saw
2017, I think.
Oh, I saw the Fulton. Is this the same guy Fulton just lost to?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's Inoue.
Thank
Which
always
again,
the
if you
best
if
fight.
you want to talk pound for pound, if you want to talk pound for pound ratings, like if there's one person in the world that is arguably better than Terrence Crawford right now, it's Inoue, and that's just based on the amount of force he generates for his weight.
Call me dumb
I
for paying attention to, but people were saying that how do you say his name? Inoue?
Inoue.
That he had like
Narrate.
his hand wraps were screwed up because he's fighting in his hometown, and it gave him extra power. And I'm like,
Yeah, you can say that all you fucking want. Like the guy has been taking heads off his entire career. That's a meaningless. Like if you're gonna start talking about gloves and bad glove form, then you got to talk about Tyson Fury during the Deontay Wilder 3 fight. I mean, I don't even think there's cause for speculation or argument on it. If the refs didn't call it in the moment, there's nothing to say.
I agree.
Especially as far as hand wraps, man. Like if you look at the history of boxing, people have straight up put like BBs in their gloves. So
Jeez.
I don't care what your wraps are doing. Like you're probably okay.
Gotcha. And
Yeah.
Coach Matthew Slater
Boxing's a rough sport, man.
at m.slater MMA. If Coach Matt says it's okay, it's probably okay. I want to get
Yeah.
your before we move on to some chaotic fights. I want to get your final thoughts and putting a bow on Crawford and Spence.
So just guys, if you're curious about boxing technique, look through Terrence Crawford's career. Do not try to copy him. He is an actual natural ambidextrous fighter. There aren't many of them in the entire world. There are few less with his level of talent. Do not try to be your heroes. Be you. Use what your heroes do. But please,
Woo!
guys, don't go trying to be somebody else. You're you. Do you. Terrence Crawford's a G. Earl Spence Jr. also, I don't mean to take anything away from that guy. He's an absolute stud. When Crawford retires, I don't think anybody's going to beat him for the rest of his career. And outside of that, man, that is a good summary of the Crawford Spence fights, in my opinion.
My last thing, can
Yeah.
Crawford catch Floyd's record, or is 45-0 more impressive? Because he's never ducked anybody. If I'm saying like he gets the 45-0, he retires. Is that more impressive than 50? Floyd's 50-0. What's the where does it stack up?
That's the most complicated question you've asked so far.
I like complicated.
So we're moving into the future of boxing, right? What establishes the GOAT moving forward is going to be a completely different set of criteria, because now you do have people like Inoue and Crawford who are definitely going to have 4 or 5 more fights minimum. Will they ever have a Floyd Mayweather record? I don't know. 49-0. It's pretty impressive
You're right.
against
I
people.
forgot about the McGregor fight. Rogan says
Yeah.
49 and Conor McGregor.
Yeah. That's how that went. Fuck me. How do I express this? Floyd Mayweather is the best defensive boxer of all time. And I don't think anybody's going to really figure it out as well as he did. And as they do, other boxers are going to have the tools to break down what it is they're doing. So I don't think anybody will ever have as much success in defense.
Wow. Well said.
Yeah. So when I think of whether Crawford will actually be able to break the Mayweather record, what's a record, really? You know what I mean? It's like I think having 40 knockouts and 45 fights is more impressive than having 49 fights and 12 knockouts, right?
Well said. That's a good point.
But like I also have to say, I think the statistic is 17% of all punches thrown at Floyd Mayweather landed during his career. That's 17%. I believe the average is like 32. So like I don't think anybody's ever going to hit those numbers either, which is arguably more impressive than the knockouts.
Incredible. I knew I liked you, Matt. I didn't know I love you. Dude, the knowledge is just pouring out. Oh my God. Can you tell us a joke now?
Yeah, can I tell you a joke? Yeah. All right. What the scarecrow get for what the scarecrow get for standing in his what? My bad.
We could
What did the
stick
scarecrow get an award for?
one more time.
What did the scarecrow get an award for?
Staring contest.
That's not bad. Being outstanding in his field.
Very good.
I have a new nephew, so I've been practicing my dad jokes.
Oh my God, you're gonna be a great dad too, man. If you're
Yeah,
not already,
one day.
ladies,
Yeah,
does he have
we'll see.
kids? Does he have kids? The biggest question the ladies are tuning in for. All right.
No, not
All
yet,
the
not
money
yet.
goes to you. He's got no weekend child support.
Yeah, not yet, not yet.
Oh my God,
No,
amazing.
nobody's called me about that so far.
Yeah, wherever you travel, there's probably a kid in PA, Rhode Island, Boston.
I'm I'm almost positive I have a child in Kentucky that's almost 17. But
That kid is gonna have farmer strength, and when you see him on the wrestling scene at the Cornell team, you're gonna be like, "That's my boy." He's like, "This for you, Papa."
it's my boy. He's gonna kick my ass.
Um, before I know we're talking all boxing, but you mentioned something about US has the most world champions right now. Just give some love to the US wrestling team. What do we got?
Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and look this up so I get this one right. Just because it's actually insane. Current global wrestling standards or standings.
We're not talking about politics or the UN folks. We're talking about wrestling. Can MMA get in the while you find what you gotta find? One word answer here. Do you believe MMA will be in the Olympics? They have freaking rock climbing and skateboarding.
I mean, I think we would crush rock climbing, but so currently for the US, we have Gilman, we have
One.
Gilman at 2. Yeah, all right. All right, I see how this is built. Freestyle seniors, that's lightweight. It's flow wrestling on an iPhone. It's not great. So we actually just lost. Gilman just lost to China. So we just lost. This is weird.
Yeah. If we're losing to China, it is definitely weird.
Yeah, well, no, I mean the way this
Oh,
this thing is set up, it won't let me check the other athletes. Hold up. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get back to you on that.
oh,
What I was getting at though is currently we have one of the greatest national wrestling teams in the world, arguably one of the greatest teams of all time.
is there a big event coming up?
So what is it called? It's Freestyle X or Wrestle X. You're gonna have to forgive me. I haven't
Brought to
been
you by
doing a lot
Elon
of
Musk.
off-season wrestling for years now. Worlds was I see again, I don't even know if Worlds just happened or Worlds is about to happen. I just know there's been a lot of contention, specifically in America at like those middleweight classes. You've got Kyle Dake, Jordan Burroughs, Metcalf, you've got Spencer Lee. I mean, like any single one of these dudes is good enough to write an entire book. You got Schneider at heavyweight. You got Jaden Cox. There's a famous video of Jaden Cox taking John Jones down like 7 times in a minute and a half. It's like John Jones is like the best heavyweight like wrestler in MMA history, and he just gets bodied by this guy Jaden Cox, and it's like, and I think Jaden Cox lost to another American, just to put that in perspective, you know.
Okay.
So it's just it's a very, very, very contentious, wild wrestling scene right now. And honestly, I'm a little upset I don't have more of that on the top of my head right now.
Well,
What are you gonna do?
I'll definitely give you a heads up, but I think I might have to like show how versatile you are. I got a boy who's like extremely well versed in world wrestling, local wrestling, and then a boy who's
What
extremely well versed in boxing. And I could see Mr. Matt Slater, a five-tool player when it comes to combat sports. I could see you mixing up with both of these guys. Because again, MMA is my stuff, but you know you got to respect the arts, you got to respect the disciplines that make these MMA fighters. Some guys box when they're younger. Some guys wrestle to be part of their MMA game. So I'm trying to learn more of it. I'm not going to pretend like I'm Luke Thomas and like, yes, I studied Kyle Dake's elementary wrestling tape. Yeah, I'm not going to pretend like I know it that much. But my point is, man, I would love to get you on with my other friends to discuss some of this stuff.
Well, I'll definitely brush up on everything that's happening currently because there was a bunch of stuff that just happened within the last month or so. So everything's kind of up in the air right now,
No
and
worries,
it's
no
leading
worries.
into the next big tournament. So we'll
You're
figure that
you're in
out.
the
But
boxing mindset.
just just a little side note, when I was going to college up at Cortland, Cornell is actually like a 40-minute drive down to Ithaca, right? So I used
Okay.
to go down there, I happened to meet Kyle Dake when he was a freshman in high school. He
Was he
beat one of my
teabagging
teammates
people then?
out. Yeah, he actually, as a freshman, he won New York States over one of my teammates who was a
Ooh.
senior at the time. And like I actually approached him because I was kind of gonna be like, yeah, good for you, fuck off. Nicest human being I ever met in my life. And years later, I bumped back into him up at Cornell and he invited me to come wrestle at the room. So I rolled with Kyle Dake a few times at Cornell.
Woo!
Yeah.
Wow, damn, that's getting
And
cool.
number one in the fucking world. Like argue if there was a P for wrestling, like he's arguably number one on that.
Oh,
But
yeah, I thought you were talking about yourself. I was like, "Yeah, man, we're working on it." I go, "Maybe a little ahead of yourself." Like, we'll
yeah,
get there, though.
I'm number fun when it comes to wrestling. I'm not taking that shit serious at all.
Number fun in the world. That's right, man,
Nope.
that's right. You,
Yeah.
you're number 1 in our heart, you're number fun in the world.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for.
You're the man,
Big
Matt, you're the
smile,
man.
big
And again,
smile.
guys, follow him on Instagram at m.slatermma. You know, we were talking off air about a fight that just happened this past weekend. Brought to you by Most Valuable Promotions. One Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz. It happened, man. I can't believe it actually happened. You know, I hope those guys made a lot of money. I put it on Twitter, a poll. Which of those fights, Spence Crawford, Paul Diaz, do you think made more money or more pay per view buys? You're dropping some knowledge on us in the pre show green room, dude. You're telling me that Paul Diaz made more money? I guess it makes sense because of the
It's the
circus
hype.
that's around. There's a freaking robot
Yeah,
on
yeah, you
stage.
nailed it. It's the circus.
There's a robot on stage. doing the robot. I mean, you can't beat that. You
I
can't beat
didn't even
some
watch.
guy who
I
might
could.
be one of the top 3 boxers of all time, top 10 boxers of all time, and Terrence Crawford just putting on a master's class against, like, his most formidable opponent. Nope. We saw a robot, and we saw a former UFC star versing, uh, an influencer who has poured a lot of time and energy into boxing. I am giving him credit
I'm
for that.
gonna give him that. I will look. I've watched a lot of that guy's training videos, and over the last year, he's improved 1,000%. He's obviously putting a lot of hard work into it. I hate him personally. I hope he breaks his hands and never boxes again. But I got to give him credit for putting the work in.
Yeah, Rogan says, he's treating it like a pro athlete. It's like he accumulated all those resources, money, and wealth
Yeah,
to kind of set himself up where he can do these like long
crazy.
training camps.
All right, so that's what I'll say. I believe that this is a circus of show rather than it's like it's a show of life rather than an attempt at being an actual legitimate boxer. It's like
Ooh, okay.
and again, he is putting in the work, but for him getting punched in the face, it's not like it's a status thing. It's an I can do this if I want thing, you know? And like I guess at the end of the day, that's all anything is. It's called power of will, right? That's really the answer to all of life's questions. We do it because we want to, or we can, or we convince ourselves we have to. But it's us telling ourselves we have to do it. I don't look at him as somebody that's like a real connoisseur or believer in what this sport actually is. I think he's a guy that looks at it much like WWE fans look at Kyle Dake, like, oh, so he can wrestle. I bet you
Ah,
yeah, I bet you mankind would beat him up, and it's like, whatever, dude. Like, you know what I mean? It's like he doesn't. I don't think he understands. Because if he did, why the fuck is he boxing Nate Diaz? You know, like you had you had one fight against an actual boxer. You lose the fight, so you go back to fighting washed up MMA fighters. It's like fuck off.
let me talk from a Jake Paul sympathizer, and I want you to put on your Matt Tradamus hat. He's now mentioned Canelo's name a bunch of times, and I believe the only way that happens is that he bleeds out Canelo. He waits till Canelo's about 40, and he's maybe just fat and on those kangaroo steroids again, or whatever. And maybe he catches him. Maybe he catches Canelo in 5 years when he's already had many wars accumulated under his belt, and maybe Jake Paul does that. Maybe Conor McGregor is 2 years before that. There is a plan to it. I do respect it. But do you believe that there is some genius in there that is trying to leapfrog Al Heyman, Eddie Hearn, Mayweather Promotions, Golden Boy Promotions by showing the world that he is
Yeah.
obviously Oscar did it, but Oscar does not have a clean uh, out of the ring record. But Jake Paul is showing that, yeah, he's a boxer too, that he can be Eddie Hearn if he was ever to step in there himself.
All right. So maybe I opened the door into like the morality of what it is to be a fighter. We were just talking about how Floyd Mayweather is one of the greatest, right? Like Floyd Mayweather's a notoriously bad person, He's just like not a good dude. And that's okay. Like I watch him because he's an incredible fighter. So when you talk about Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy Promotions, like, yeah, Oscar De La Hoya is an asshole, but like he's an asshole that came out of a gutter, did it himself, and then said screw you to all these other promotions and made his own thing. And I have nothing but respect for that. That's it. So in that light, based on that metric, I think that what Jake Paul's doing and leapfrogging these promotions, not only being able to put on these huge shows, but by getting more pay-per-view views, 150,000 more pay-per-view views than Terrence Crawford, Spence, Nate Diaz, and Paul. Think about that shit. 150,000, 850,000 total. That is a disgusting percentage to beat out the two of the best pound for pound fighters in the whole fucking world right now.
And what does that mean to you? For me, my 13-year-old nephew's talking about him.
It means I want him to have good fights. And that's the other thing. Like, I hate Jake Paul, but if the kids are all watching him do something that I care about, maybe some of them will take the sport seriously and look at it as like a path to what it's really about?
That's fair. That's fair. And at the bare minimum, he's showing kids that, like you said, if you have the will, or if you can do something, that he's showing kids that he wants to compete on a stage. And it's not just like being a rock star. He's like physically competing on stage.
Yeah.
Like he's getting
Yeah.
in shape. If he was not in shape, he would have lost to Diaz. He would have collapsed in the fourth, fifth, or sixth round.
Yeah,
So
he's building up the wind. He is. I give him credit. I'm not trying to take anything away from him as far as the work that he's put into it. I guess it's just the purview on what it is that I disagree with. You know what I mean? I think for him, it's nah. Look, this is the guy that dropped Crypto Zoo. You know, this is like this. He's like, it ain't about us. It ain't about the viewers. It ain't about the sport. It's about him and whatever the fuck his goal is. You know. And again, I get as a man, I can respect that, but as like a fight aficionado and somebody that loves this sport, um, all I can hope is that he uses his new promotion to bring real fighters into the limelight. I don't want to see Blueface fighting KSI. I want to see real fighters fighting each other at the biggest stage possible. And if he's providing that stage, then he's providing a service to the sport, and I don't care how much money he makes.
I
You know,
just hope he can stay on the straight and narrow as a promoter. Does he really love this sport? Does he see it as a payday? It's like fun to compete in. I'm here one day, I'm gone the next. Or does he really love and promote? He says it. He's a good businessman about the women's boxing, but like, is there going to be somebody outside of Amanda Serrano? Is there future women that he's promoting, or like I said, is
right,
it just
right,
here
right.
today and gone tomorrow? I think that's a question that is not answered.
No, it's actually a very difficult question to answer. Um, all right. Did you watch the Anderson Silva fight?
Actually, have it on my tab. That's the one fight of Jake Paul I have not watched. That's my
Yeah.
favorite UFC fighters. As I mentioned earlier, comparing him to Spence, the sniper like, but I don't I don't want to I don't want to be disappointed. I don't know.
I don't want to cast aspersion or, you know, say that I'm automatically right. What I saw in that fight was one of the greatest fighters of all time laying it down for a big paycheck the day before he
What
was
he
done with
says.
sports
I
forever.
saw the ending clip where it was like the hook missed the nose or something.
Yep, I mean, it touched him, and like, look, like Paul hits hard. He's a big dude. He's got some force. But like you're talking about Anderson fucking Silva. If he wanted to stand up, he would have stood up. You know what I mean? It's like it's the same thing Nate Diaz did. You know, like you got this big fat paycheck and you never have to worry again. So like who gives a shit about laying it down? And like to me, that's where I start really like losing like my love for Paul. Like I honestly it's more about like the integrity of the sport to me.
Oh, I would that's the one thing that would kill me. If like a Cowboy laid down versus a Connor, if a Aldo laid down versus a Connor, because look at what that does. Connor got the $4 billion sale. Connor got the sport on ESPN. I think it's 1.5 billion the ESPN broadcast deal. He got Dana a bigger platform that he could promote. But so much follows with the
Yeah.
Conor McGregor beating Aldo, and it's like if I find out that there was like
Mm.
it'd be
I
nuts.
mean, it would change the history of fight sports, is what that
Probably
would.
one of the reasons why I stopped smoking. But but if you could put another bow, we got a lot of presents for fight fans. And again, Matthew Slater on Instagram at m.slater MMA. I do appreciate your time. If you could put a bow on Paul and Diaz.
Okay, so again, guys, I didn't watch the actual fight. Like I've said, and again, there's no disrespect to Nate Diaz. He's an incredible BJJ practitioner. When it comes to MMA and being in the ring, I think his awareness and the way he adds that into his striking makes him seem like a very solid boxer. Um, he's a shitty boxer, guys. It is what it is. Logan Paul definitely has improved infinitely since the first
Big
time I
Paul,
saw
big
him
Paul,
strap on
Logan.
gloves.
Wrong
I,
Paul.
yeah, whatever his name is. I don't give a shit. Like, fuck that guy. No, like I got to give the guy credit for putting in the work. You know, you asked a question earlier. This is how I'll put a bow on it. Why do fighters come from Long Island? Well, we're in the shadow of Manhattan, the biggest goddamn city in the world with more money than just about anybody you can imagine. Which you
Capital,
brought up,
in my opinion.
Long Island was blue-collar fishing neighborhoods. And our dads grew up drinking on their boats, watching these guys work 4-hour nights and have enough money to buy mansions next door to them. And they came home drunk and beat the shit out of mommy and their kid. And like to Sean Strickland it, you catch an ass whooping, you're a lot more likely to deal one out. You know? I feel like there was a lot of tough upbringings out here based on a lot of jealousy and envy. And it's like you see your father feeling that way. It kind of lights that fire in your gut and you are looking to burn things up a little bit more.
Well said.
So this right here is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. You got Diaz from Compton, struggling his whole life, beat the shit out of people until he made it through the UFC. You know what I mean? Retires on this huge payday from some kid who I don't think takes the sport seriously, who's just doing the work because it is fun. I enjoy it, you know? It's a fun sport, but I don't think he needs it the same way as real fighters do, you know? It's not the same thing as coming out of like fucking the Manilas in Philippines. He ain't Manny Pacquiao, you know? You could put 5 belts on Jake Paul. He'd never be Manny Pacquiao, you know? There's this fire that he lacks, in my opinion.
Wow.
So to put a bow on it, guys, if you like it, watch it. But my advice, watch real fighters. Don't watch these fucking WWE clowns that are just pretending they're boxers.
I would say
That's
I like the way you put that. He lacks a fire in him, and I would say that Conor McGregor touched the fire and then just completely went down the other hill. Like once
Conor McGregor.
once he shook Floyd's hand, it was almost like energy was swapped. Since that Floyd fight, dude, the Eddie Alvarez,
Well,
he had
and
some girls.
For Conor McGregor to do as well as he did in that Floyd Mayweather fight, like you got to keep in mind there was no way he was going to beat Floyd Mayweather. No way. But he did so much better than I thought he was going to do. I was impressed with Conor McGregor striking after that. But to speak on what Conor McGregor did and what happened, why he got these billion-dollar endorsements, he touched that fire in every fucking single one of us. Every time Conor came out shooting his mouth off, it's the things we wanted to say to the people we didn't like. He was relatable in that ire for everything around him. And
But
then
he
he got
also
popular, and
he
we
was
can't relate anymore.
he was listening to what he was saying too. Now he's just
Yeah.
saying things like a businessman to close the deal.
Yeah. And we can see it, and it's no longer relatable. So there's not as much
Justin
love for
Gaethje's
Conor as
the
there
A
was.
side. Justin Gaethje's like, no, I don't want to fight anybody on steroids. I was like, my man. I go, that's.
Yeah.
But I feel like you're one of the few who will recognize what Conor McGregor did to the sport and the attention that he's brought. But it's also like, man, it's so seesawed from 2015 to 2023. Like, he was doing the Ultimate Fighter. And maybe there's irony in that it was against Uriah Faber, and now it's Michael Chandler, and it doesn't fight it.
Also, Uriah Faber's early career was one of the coolest things I ever saw. You should go look at Uriah Faber in WEC. He was incredible back then.
He might have been Monster's like first athlete. Like I
Yeah.
can't remember the WC commercials. Faber was all over everything. The California kid, white dude with braids. Like now, I'm excited for my kid to like grow his hair long. I'm like, yeah, it's because of Faber, man.
And that guy's a really nice guy. He's a really cool guy.
Conor, like John Jones, I feel once they're 10 years out of the game, out of the competition game, then they're going to be reflecting. It'll be a happy medium of like that. They can relax. Like there's no like the ego is at ease. Like John Jones, he preaches heavenly gospel, and then he goes out and does these like heinous crimes, and it's like then he's back to his balance. Oh, John's competing, so he's happy. Like I feel like it's nutso. And Conor McGregor, all these allegations, all these horrible stories, man. I think they'll go away when he's 50, when he'll finally be like, man, I was an idiot.
Aside from Daniel Cormier, almost every fighter I've ever heard speak or present themselves is borderline insane. Everybody's crazy. To do what these people do at this level, you have to be kind of crazy. And just a fun little side note, I was dating a Belarusian girl about a year and a half ago, right after
Russian?
Belarusian, so right outside of Russia.
Okay.
Um,
That's hot. That's hot.
yeah, it was very hot. But Belarusian girl, right? She's telling me I bring up Khabib, and she's like, "Oh, that guy's completely insane." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And you remember he retired after his father passed. Said I made a promise I'd never fight. My
Yep.
father's gone. What I heard from her, and I looked into it, it turns out it was pretty true. And again, the world's a propaganda machine. You don't know what's actually real anymore. But she showed me news articles and clippings. Khabib was walking around Dagestan with a crew of MMA fighters, beating the fuck out of journalists who were talking shit about him. So the Russian consulate said you can't leave the
What?
country anymore.
Oh,
Yep.
no. You are disparaging on the Octagon live.
Yeah, this is what I read in Russian newspapers with this Belarusian girl. So like I can't say if it's true or not. I don't fucking know. I'm not a Russian diplomat. I don't have access to the real truth. But
Do you hear
that's
that?
what I've heard.
Do you hear that? I think
What
somebody's knocking at your door.
It's raining over here.
Oh, there's
It's not
no
raining.
if you see anybody with the beards and no mustache, just say nobody's home, wrong house.
Uh, yeah. No, I got you now. It's raining over here. No, Khabib's at my door.
You might have to shave that mustache. Be like, no, Halabib, Halabib.
Yeah, no, for real. That's called a phenotype. I do have that Dagestani look to me.
You can pull it off, man.
I really could.
I hate America, Khabib. They're like, okay, he's next house.
that's that's hilarious. I
Oh,
hate America. Um,
so moving
yeah.
forward, we got a big fight, another crossover fight, but I feel like you are going to feel a little differently about this MMA star fighting a boxing star than you felt about Jake Paul versus Diaz. Let me know your initial thoughts. I can't believe this freaking happened. I thought Ngannou was going to make his highlight tape, maybe get two low-level boxers in with knockouts, maybe get two low-level PFL heavyweights, make the highlight tape. Apparently, his knee is recovered. He's excited. He's got. I mean, dude, he's facing Tyson freaking Fury on
Yeah.
October 28th in Abu Dhabi. Shout out to Abu Dhabi. We love Dagestan. We love Habib. We love Abu Dhabi. What are your thoughts? Tyson Fury, Francis
In
Ngannou.
this case, I don't mind the cross up so much because both of these men are fighters. They are real fighters. They're there to win. They're there for look, people think this shit is all about the money. It is about the glory. Like nobody cares about the money. I mean, the money's really, really nice. And when you're retiring, the money's more important. But like when you're at the top of your game, it's about that. It's about that. You just want to know that you're the best. And I think that Ngannou is going to have a much harder time than he thinks,
Okay, which means
which means Tyson Fury is an incredible boxer.
right.
He's honestly
We
incredible.
know this.
I think Tyson Fury is going to piece his ass up.
Oh, there's no magic. You don't see any magic like Tyson Fury overestimating
I see
or
that
underestimating. Excuse me.
Ngannou has it's probably not even arguable. He's stronger than Deontay Wilder. If Deontay Wilder can drop Tyson Fury, Ngannou can drop Tyson Fury. What it's going to come down to is his
A fair
ability.
assessment? And I'm sorry for jumping in there, but is
No, you're
this like my uh, Joe Monday boxing analysis? That Francis Ngannou should absolutely not touch a single dumbbell or weight or any like press machine. That he should just kind of like get those boxing muscles going.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like the strongest man ever. He's an animal. He's so strong. He doesn't need any more power. So I mentioned earlier, I do have a fighter. He's fighting on the 27th. He's 280 pounds. He's a big boy. He's not solid muscle like Ngannou is. He's a big NCAA football player.
Oh wow!
He's got some fat on him. He got some weight to lose. He has so much power, I can barely hold the bag for him, much less pads. When you talk about Ngannou and his power, you don't need that much force to drop somebody. You just need to connect. I don't think he's going to be able to connect. I think Fury's head movement is too solid. I think, first off, Fury is built like Shrek. Like, the guy is just a giant human being. He is. Like, the guy looks like Shrek. I think if you hand that guy a cudgel and put him out on, like, the highlands of Scotland, I don't know, like, that guy's William Wallace. Like, he's a giant monster person. He belongs in a swamp with a donkey. Like, I don't know what's happening right now. But, like, he's just an abnormally shaped, built human being with all of these incredible attributes that are perfect for boxing. He works his ass off at it. And he's one of the most talented fighters that you're ever going to see. I mean, the guy really is, he's really good. And I don't see Ngannou's power being able to answer that question, because Deontay Wilder's a way better boxer than Ngannou will ever be. You know?
So Deontay destroys Ngannou?
Huh? I think Deontay fucked Ngannou up, personally.
Ooh, see, that's what I think we needed to do the climb. I don't know why the climb didn't happen.
Because this is the money. Get the money right now. Get it. And the thing is, it's like there's no one in that weight aside from Deontay Wilder that really challenges Fury. So this isn't about Ngannou's career. This is a Fury decision. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
This isn't like, if this was about Ngannou, yeah, he would have to build up to it. But this is a Fury thing. He's the one who took the contract. You know?
Cool. Do you think
think about it that way, Lauren. It's payday. It's a payday, and it's proof I'm the baddest big man on the planet.
Does he return to the lineal heavyweight champion boxing path against Usyk? Is this just a pit stop, a money pit stop, a big money pit stop, or is this one step away from retirement? That's what I think. The mental side to Fury is so important here.
Yeah, it's very, you know what? That's a really hard one to call. Usually I'm pretty confident in judging where people are at in their careers. I think that Tyson Fury does want to fight Usyk. I think that he's going to beat Usyk, but just because he's just way bigger, you know? Just a much bigger man. Thing you got to keep in mind, though, is Usyk is arguably, like, I don't know how to pronounce his name, too. Like, we're just making sounds with using them, but that's okay. But I see this guy, and it's like,
oh no, he's not Russian. He's Ukrainian. My bad.
Yeah. He's Ukrainian. Like, he really is one of the most technical fighters right now. I just don't think that his size is going to scale up to Fury. So when that fight happens, I do think Fury will beat him. And probably retire after that. So I'd say he's going to beat Ngannou, take the payday, fight Usyk, and then retire after he beats Usyk. I would assume
that would be the plan. I mean, I am team MMA always, man. I did expect Conor to make it to a decision. Everybody was so surprised by the 10 rounds. I was like trying to will him to 12. I was like, come on. Everybody's like, no, he made it 10. I go, no, that son of a bitch should have made it 12. I'm trying to will Ngannou to land that. Joe Rogan, who did he have? Maybe it was Post Malone. Ever heard of him? Maybe it was Sean Strickland. Ever heard of him? He was talking with one of his huge guests about what would be the Francis Ngannou game plan. He's like, if we see Francis Ngannou charge like the Jairzinho Rosenstruck fight a couple of years back, maybe that's the game plan. Should he go
windmills? Yeah, that's the only way. Windmills. He's not going to outbox him, but he might outland him.
Now, could he do that? Like, do you think he could have enough energy for 3 rounds? Because if he obviously goes that crazy, no, he's losing his energy.
I think that if he overcommits, because, like, all right, you saw the John Jones-Cyril Gane fight, right?
Yeah.
So, like, Gane is like a good kickboxer. Like, I don't know if you know that. He's like a world-class kickboxer.
Taekwondo style, in and out, very smooth.
He's an incredible athlete. And, like, I met him at the UFC gym. I got to train with him as well. That was pretty cool.
Damn.
But, you know, like, you saw this guy throw his weight and was off by, like, just a fraction of like a pound. He was just off by. And that was enough for John Jones to duck him, take his back, and end the fight, right? So, like, Cyril Gane is a way more functional striker than Ngannou is. He's like a much more technically sound striker than Ngannou is.
Kicks, yeah.
So what you're really
Kicks. I'll give him the kicks.
Yeah, what you're gonna see is like a powder keg versus a technician in this fight. So like if Ngannou does come out swinging crazy hard and leaning forward, I do believe Tyson Fury is going to be able to pivot out, throw an uppercut, and end the fight in like the second round. If Ngannou really charges him, he's going to go down hard.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think, I think he's going to get hit twice and recognize it before he keeps charging. I think you're right, though. I think he's going to run in there like that.
So
No,
what
it
would
was
be
a
next?
idea immediately.
What would be next for Francis? Then does he reset boxing, kind of build up with maybe he could face Chisora or Andy Garcia, like a level down, a tier down from Fury, which he should have done.
I think Andy Garcia. I think Garcia would fucking ruin him too. Honestly,
Or does he do the PFL route? 2 KO, 3 KO wins. John Jones, Stipe happens, and then we get the crossover because they're both on ESPN. So come on, it's bound to happen. PFL, their guy, Francis Ngannou. UFC, their guy, John Jones in Vegas. MSG.
sounds almost like you know. It sounds like you almost know the marketing team's plan from last year.
Is that the 2024 plan? What do you believe he's really cares about boxing, or is taking a payday and he's going to jump back into MMA? What are your thoughts?
No, and this is what Logan Paul did for combat sports that I kind of do own one. yeah, you know, Logan Paul's the Suicide Forest guy, right?
I don't even know that. Dude, we're learning. It's like we sound so old if we're talking about these Paul brothers. Dude, I swear to God, my nephew said, "You're such a hater." I go, no, I'm explaining to you. I was like, geez, they have like little Paul kids now.
Oh God, it's like, well, I don't know, man.
Andrew
That's a whole different
Tate.
conversation. I'm not trying to get into the
Jake
sociology of Jake Paul. Fuck that.
We got Andrew Tate and Jake Paul influencing the next generation of men.
Oh, dude, don't forget about my boy Jordan Peterson.
You're gonna make me die on the mic.
Look, for me, I don't disagree with a lot of the things they say about self-empowerment and being able to be your own like guiding force in life. It's the Superman. It's the idea of like man over the sea, you know, like human beings have been doing incredible things since the conception of human beings, you know, and it's force of will that brings you to that point. Which is a lot of what these guys talk about, but then they get into all their like misogynistic, anti-feminist shit, and it's like you guys just sound insecure as fuck to me. Just how I feel about that. Oh, whatever. If people are getting good things out of it, all the love in the world, man. I don't care.
Like, put a bow on Fury and Ngannou. I want a prediction and a round.
I think Fury puts him down by the fourth. That's what I think.
Oh, I put solo view on you to break it down.
Oh. Well, in a very roundabout way, without saying too much, I really do think that Fury is going to catch Ngannou stepping in a little bit too hot. Ngannou is going to try to slow it down and get picked apart for the next 2 rounds. He's going to get desperate. He's going to overcommit. He's going to get put down in the fourth. I think the postscript on that is just what you guessed. It's going to turn into a PFL UFC thing between John Jones and Ngannou, and that is only if John Jones does not choose to retire immediately after the Stipe fight, which a lot of people are predicting does happen. I think he's going to stick around for the Ngannou thing, personally. Or he might retire and then fight him afterwards anyway.
Would that fight now, that would be, I think 2024 might be the end of the ESPN contract, or maybe it's a year after that. But Conor Khabib did 2.4 million pay-per-view buys. Could Francis Ngannou, John Jones, now a long time on the ESPN platform, maybe they actually do like Sports Center interviews to build up a fight to really make it gigantic. Do you think if it gets the proper promoting, because Dana White's going to, oh my God, you're going to see Dana White back to his Mayweather-McGregor promotional energy. with that. I mean, he's forgetting Henry Cejudo when he's on the Mike Tyson podcast. He's forgetting names of fight. Like, I think the John Jones
Yeah.
fight, like, he would do such a great job at extinguishing, because you get that casual media when it comes to those super fights. Like, he would shut down anybody who's trying to, like, disparage John Jones, and worthy of being disparaged. But if you had, like, NBC Nightly News, oh, Dana, John Jones, you think he's gonna just go off the rail? No, Dana White would be such a shill for John Jones that he would put out all those fires. Like, you're gonna get the super focused Dana White. Like, when he's so, you're gonna get the power slap Dana White,
Dana
like
White's
that
a
type of focus.
crackhead.
In
When
your
Dana White goes to it, that man is a crackhead with his method. He does not stop. He's on that 22-hour day shit. Like, he's out of his
yes,
mind.
did you see
I love that energy.
during the Mayweather McGregor, when he would introduce his guy every time, the railing, the fence, like he was losing his shit. He was getting all redhead, like that.
Yeah, dude, he does look like he's gonna blow. The motherfucker's gonna have an aneurysm.
If he hasn't
That's
had
what
one.
we're describing right now. He's
Do
gonna
you
pop
think
a
it
blood vessel in his forehead. Man.
surpasses? Because maybe Ngannou could be a bigger sell than Khabib. Maybe, I put them like neck and neck in terms of salespeople if that fight was to happen. But do you think it could pass 2.4 million pay-per-view buys? Ngannou Jones?
The sport has grown. The viewership has grown. There are more people watching regularly. There's a very good chance that it does break that record. I think that it's only natural. I think that the fight industry, the whole sport, is just going to keep attracting more and more attention. We're going to have bigger and bigger buys.
Does Francis Ngannou by that time, 15 months from now, 18 months from now, does he have enough wrestling takedown defense to contend with John Jones?
No. John Jones scraped him.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, sorry. So like, you want to talk about like real, like natural talent in an athlete. John Jones is. So here's another one, man. When I was up at Cortland, there was a gym down in Endicott, New York.
Oh, you guys didn't do
And,
coke together, right?
I mean, I'm gonna leave that off the podcast. No, so we're down there. I went down. I was just thirsty for an MMA gym. There wasn't really one any closer. Do like 3-4 hours of rolls with all the jiu-jitsu guys in the room. The
Nice.
whole time I hear a heavy bag rocking. Like, and I know the sound of a heavy bag. It's just rocking. I'm like, damn, somebody's kicking the shit out of that thing. It's like 4 hours later. I'm like, I gotta go take a look. I walk in and it's this skinny, tall ass black dude throwing like 6 5+ head kicks on repeat to a rhythm, and had been doing it for 4.5 hours. That was John Jones. Before he was John Bones Jones. It was John Jones. 19 years old. I was 17.
Matt, this is where you got it wrong. And again, I love you, but this is where you got it wrong.
But like what I'm getting at is like the raw athleticism of that fucking guy. Like, I've never seen somebody do such an athletic thing. And I've been surrounded by world-class athletes like my whole life. I've never seen somebody like John Jones. I don't think anybody's beating John Jones ever.
You've talked me off the ledge for
Except
Francis
that one guy
Ngannou.
that he illegally elbowed.
You've talked me off
Say that again?
Yeah, New York native as well, Matt Hamill. You've talked me off the ledge about Francis Ngannou possibly beating Tyson Fury. Fury is in his prime. He's a tactician. He's got all the attributes, as you said. Okay, you talked me off the ledge. But
Look,
for the mankind, for every child to see and hear and learn about Francis Ngannou's journey to that point to reclaim his UFC heavyweight crown in 2025 or whenever it happens at MSG versus John Jones and the whole promotion of the UFC. He needs to win, man. He needs to win. John Jones needs to be fucking humbled. I'm sorry.
I know what you mean. I just don't see it happening. Like, you would need a sledgehammer to that guy's kneecaps to humble him.
And the only person carrying the sledgehammer is the Dana White mob.
Yeah, for real though. It's like, goddamn.
Oh my God. I said 30 minutes. Dude, we've been flowing for 65 minutes now. I really appreciate the time. Matthew Slater with 1T. Instagram at m.slatermma. My brother, what do you got coming up for you? Yeah, I heard you mentioned your boy's about to step in there. This NFL linebacker turned boxer who's about to fight. What else are you doing for my brother?
He'll be fighting, I believe the date is the 27th of September. I believe the venue is out in Comac.
Oh,
It's going to be through
nice.
Flex Promotions.
Oh, that's breaking news. We didn't know when the September event was.
Yep,
Ooh.
yep. I believe that's the date. It is tentative, so don't.
Comac, do we got a venue? Can you drop a venue? Oh
I
my
don't know if I should be spoiling things for my promoter.
Oh my god, I'm gonna no, I mean, Dana White loves breaking news. You ever hear him when he's with, like, reporters, he's like, "Alright, I'll give you this," and he gives them, like, a matchup
Yeah,
that's,
yeah,
like
yeah. You give him a little taste. You know what? I'm gonna leave those breadcrumbs for Machi to hook you guys up with. He can give you a little more detail on that. I
oh,
already
I
spoiled it for
almost
you.
got him, folks, I almost got him. Well, I will do everything within my power to be there September 27th. I believe that's a Friday, that's a couple of towns over. Dude, can we get you in studio? Can we get you in studio
Oh,
then? I just finished my home studio. Can we get you in there
a
before then?
100%, man. I would be more than happy to come on in whenever. Love to meet a couple of your guys, talk some wrestling, talk some boxing, talk some
Alright.
UFC.
That's the one guy's in the Bronx, one guy is, like, north of Saratoga, like, way upstate. I
Sure.
guess those wrestlers love being in the woods, but, maybe one day, dude, we might have to do, like, a watch companion. Maybe we do it with, like, Fury and
Yeah,
Ghana. I might have to
that's what I want to do.
legally buy it and, put it on, and we all watch it, get some pizza, and have a bunch of mics and just bullshit. I think that's a thing that could really happen, but Matthew,
We
I love
definitely
you, brother.
should.
I really appreciate the time, man. I know you're doing a lot and you're contributing a lot to the local fight scene, and obviously you're just extremely knowledgeable internationally when it comes to combat sports. I met you at UFC gyms, New York versus New Jersey, grappling event back in March. I hope
Yep.
Brandon Adamas gives me the call September or whenever they're going to run it back. I'd love to do another stream with you there. But
It's actually coming up, and I'll talk to him about getting in there myself, man. I'll come in.
woo!
I'll co-cast that with you.
Okay, okay. I have to. That was my first live stream. Now I have to explain to Brandon. I've learned to do the wide camera shot now.
There
Now we
you
can
go.
see the whole freaking cage. I believe me. I got to text him all this.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
All right, brother. So last thing, guys, over at the Howard Davis Jr. Boxing Center in Glen Cove these days, it is a community center. You guys can all come in for free if you're curious about it. Got a couple great trainers in there. Got guy Justin Lee, guy Saz, Frank's the head of the and then there's Frank. He's the head of Ring 8. So Frank is the president of that club and the organization that kind of dictates boxing out here. So if you guys are curious about the industry, about the sports, just come in. Again, that's Howard Davis Jr. Boxing Gym in Glen Cove. Talk with Frank, Coach Matt Slater. Zaz is there. He's a little punchy. So just, if somebody talks to you and doesn't make sense, so just assume that's Zaz.
what a
He's a
nickname!
good guy.
I believe
Yeah,
that's
Zaz.
like a guy who's like in the Arkham Asylum in one of the Batman video games. Like I don't know
Yeah,
if
I'm
that.
pretty sure he's crazy.
Amazing, amazing, dude. We could get into this some conspiracy talk. Like, my wife is foreign, so shout outs to anybody who dates and marries. That's you and me when it comes to foreign girls, man.
Yo,
But
I'm all about girls. Props, brother.
um, what was that? I'm explaining to her that there's a whole like underground like stories about like these psych centers, and it's like maybe we could talk about that. Maybe we could have Zaz on. It could be some interesting conversation. I got 4 mics, so we gotta find 2 other guys that would be a good time to chat for 3 hours because I don't think everybody understands how these companions how long they are,
Oh, they
but
run. They run.
they run.
Um,
Exactly.
well, I'll tell you what, man. Like, I'm pretty long-winded, so if you don't mind listening to people rant, we can definitely get Zaz out here. But
Exactly.
he
We're
he
building
gonna
the
talk 2.5 hours straight, so we might as well need to get some headphones and leave the mics open, you know?
exactly. I
Um,
appreciate the time, Matt. I'm gonna kick you out, okay? Is that alright? I'll kick you out digitally out of the meta space.
Perfect, brother. Yeah, let's link up soon, man. It was great talking to everybody. Take it nice and easy. Hope you learned something, guys.
I'll catch you soon, brother, and I'll text you
All
now.
right, man. Yeah. You got my number.
Peace.
Peace.
There he was, folks. Matthew Slater. Ladies on Instagram at m.slatermma. Yeah, forget all the boxing knowledge. Forget all the, what do you call it? The cool conversation, the fun chats. No, ladies, he's out there. Snatch him up, because one of those Belarusians or Dagestani girls, they will take him home. That's right. We need more strong men in this world, preaching the good message of hard work, consistency, focus, good conversation, good times. Matthew Slater is one of those gentlemen. I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. At Ictagon Everything, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. I said Facebook already. TikTok. Of course, Ictagon.com. Give me a call, leave a voicemail. 646-820-9848. Love you guys. We covered a lot. And as the combat sports world goes, there is no off season. I'll see you next week. Peace.